Thank you. Hello again. This is Jack Benny talking.
That's me, Groucho Marx.
The big story.
It's Jubilee.
Way back home.
The Armed Forces Radio Service is on the air. Yes, hour after hour, day after day, the Armed Forces Radio Service is on the air in round-the-clock operation. You will hear many familiar voices during the next half hour as we present a special broadcast dedicated to this organization, which plays such an important part in the lives of American servicemen and their families stationed in every part of the globe. This is the AFRS Story. To tell it, we must start at the beginning. And to start at the beginning, we must have silence. The mute silence of a network not yet born. No giant transmitters with their steel ribs rising into the sky. No waves of sound carrying mirth and music to the four corners of the earth. Our stars cannot talk to you. Our music, drama, news, sports events cannot reach your ears, for there are no facilities to send them hurtling through space. The year is 1942. The war is only a few months old, and it is being fought in remote, faraway places. You're a long way from home now. And into the silence come the awful sounds of battle. Then, when you have a brief moment to rest, the silence is broken again by music and a voice.
This is Tokyo Rose again, fellas. Playing for me and my gal. Just for you and your gal. By the way, I bet you're lonesome, aren't you? Do you suppose she'll wait for you? It'd be a shame to lose both the war and your girl. Remember when she told you she'd be waiting for you always? But always is a long time, fellas. A very long time.
Yes, during those first few months of the war, the only radio entertainment available to servicemen came through the courtesy of Radio Tokyo and Radio Berlin. Axis Sally and Tokyo Rose were getting in their little lick. It would have been understandable if such matters as radio broadcasting to the troops had been buried under large piles of more urgent matters in our nation's capital, but this was not the case. There was an ever-growing concern that factual information and news be reported regularly to the men in overseas areas. There was the obvious necessity for good entertainment through radio in the interest of morale. This was the beginning of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Its mission was clearly stated.
To provide radio and sound equipment, services and personnel for the information, education, and entertainment of armed forces overseas.
Very clear, concise, very simply stated. Easy enough to put on paper. But the translation of those words into facts was a tremendous job. What did it take to put it in operation? To break the silence and put AFRS on the air. Listen.
Equipment for the largest radio network in the world. Everything from tubes to transmitters, installed in 179 separate locations around the globe.
The immediate cooperation of the nation's vast commercial radio industry.
Establishment of operational headquarters in Hollywood, California, and gathering top-level writers, directors, performers, and executives.
Facilities for transcribing and shipping some 10,000 records a week to stations in Alaska, Africa, the South Pacific, the Caribbean, the Canal Zone.
In a remarkably few months, the work was done. Transmitters were constructed and manned. Mobile radio stations arrived in areas where the tide of battle was constantly moving. The talented members of the entertainment world joined forces with the technical staff that made up AFRS, and the magic of radio brought the sounds of home to men who were far from home.
And here he is, Bob Hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, here I am at Point Magoo on the coast of California. Very lucky it's still here. Oh, for the men of the Naval Missile Center. Of course, everything down here is scientific and automatic, and you can tell the Navy runs it. It's all buttons. And everything here is so secret. In fact, before they let me do the broadcast, I had to swear no one was listening. I may be right. Point Magoo is like something out of a science fiction story. Last week, the CO put a notice up on the bulletin board. From now on, the moon is off limits. Really, this place is so advanced scientifically, they refer to Buck Rogers as that nice old gentleman. It's very hard to get into Point Magoo, but I didn't have any trouble. When I arrived, the guard at the front gate called an officer and said, "Sir, we found that missile we thought we'd lost." But they really take security seriously here at Magoo. This afternoon, I saw a dog chasing a cat, and they were both blindfolded. And to keep things really secret, the whole place is usually covered with fog. Here's a very lovely melody, a very lovely lyric, and a lovelier gal to sing it, Miss Betsy Duncan.
Hey, I thought I heard a radio over there. Where'd you guys get it?
Supplies putting him on.
No kidding.
Sure, they got a mobile station at Anzio already, just so we wouldn't miss Bob Hope.
Is he here, too?
Nope, but they say he's coming over.
Well, next to seeing him in person, it's sure good to hear an American radio program again. Hey, I wonder if you can get Actress Sally on that thing.
Who cares? Nobody listens to her anymore. We got G.I. Jill.
Yes, they had G.I. Jill and her all-time jukebox review. They had Bob Hope, Jack Benny, Fibber McGee and Molly, Edgar Bergen. They had dozens of wonderful shows that brought music, fun, and laughter. Familiar segments of home. They had their own shows to fill their own requests. Shows like Melody Roundup for Western music, Mail Call, Jubilee, Hymns from Home. And they heard the voices of familiar stars who were appearing just for them.
Concert Hall, presenting its soloists, the well-known concert violinist Joseph Zaghetti and the Brazilian soprano Bidu Sayal. And here to introduce your guests is your Concert Hall host, Lionel Barrymore.
Thank you, and welcome to Concert Hall. We reach into Europe and South America for our guest today and present first the brilliant Hungarian violinist Joseph Szigeti.
For those who like their music in a lighter vein, there was the popular show called Remember.
Hello, fellas. This is Bob Young, still substituting for Fred McMurray after 246 programs of Remember. You see, it was this way. One day, Fred called and said, Bob, old boy. I knew right then there was something afoot. Bob, old boy, he said, would you mind doing a couple of programs for me? I just want to go out for a cup of coffee. I said I wouldn't. He said, good, and then left me here at this mic. That was 40 weeks ago. I know you can grow old trying to get waited on around here, but 40 weeks? Hey, you must have wanted
And
sugar.
then there was the biggest show of them all.
Command Performance, USA. The greatest entertainers in America as requested by you, the men and women in the United States Armed Forces throughout the world. Command Performance. Presented this week and every week till it's over there.
Yes, Command Performance. A star-studded show that couldn't have been duplicated at any price. That was the show where servicemen asked for and got the most unusual entertainment. Along with the music, comedy, and drama, which were regular features, they heard Hedy Lamarr milking a cow. Ann Miller dancing in G.I. shoes. And Sheridan frying their breakfast eggs. And the never-to-be-forgotten wedding of Dick Tracy and Tess Trueheart, as played by Bing Crosby and Dinah Shore.
Who's that knocking at my door? Who's that singing troubadour? bringing song to my boudoir.
It is I, Dick Tracy.
How I love your square-cut chin. I'll come down and let you in. Hiya, Dick. Give me some skin.
Thank you, scads test through heart. Well, the big day, huh, Tess? We're finally going to get married.
Yes, Dick, and this time you better go through with it. I've waited 13 years to get married, and you keep putting it off.
Well, honey, some big crime keeps coming up, and I have to dash out and solve it. In 1941, it was 88 Keys. In 1942, it Mrs. Pruneface. And in 1944...
Wait a minute. What happened to 1943?
Very interesting year. My laundry came back. Come, Tess, let us join the merry throng and get on with the nuptials. I will fling open the door.
Oh, shut up. At last the moment has come. Tess Trueheart, do you take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
Richard Tracy, do you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do.
Oh, at last. I now pronounce you man and... Oh, bean juice. Blasted interruptions. Always interruptions. I get that dang thing torn out.
Excuse me, darling.
Oh, Richard.
Hello, Tracy at this end.
Hello, police chief on this end. Well, that takes care of both ends.
But let one of the people who was in on all this wartime activity of AFRS tell you about it. Let's transfer our microphones to the San Fernando Valley home of the favorite singer among servicemen everywhere, Miss Dinah Shore.
Thank you, and hiya, fellas. I'm enjoying listening to this program about AFRS, and it brings back a whole lot of memories to me. This microphone was anything but a stranger during those years. I saw those initials AFRS a good many times. And I knew that on the other side of the mic, there was the greatest listening audience a gal could ever ask for. It's a wonderful thing to know that a song you sing or a story you tell or the few words you speak during a program like this will be heard by millions of people all over the world. No matter how the numbers grew or how the lines expanded, I saw your network growing and expanding, too, through the South Pacific and into the Philippines and from Africa to the European continent. It was a real symbol of victory when there were AFRS stations in Tokyo and in Berlin. But now let's get back to your narrator and pick up the story from there.
With the victorious end of the war, the need for the Armed Forces radio service became even greater. Born of a wartime necessity, it became indispensable in time of peace. To the men on occupation duty in foreign lands, to the men who served on ships of our Navy, to the men of our service hospitals that make up the bedside network, AFRS had a continuing mission. Our military planners were aware of this when they established a network that covered the world. Today, AFRS has two distinct jobs. First, to provide transcription programs for release overseas and in hospitals in the States. And second, to maintain a continual broadcast service through powerful shortwave transmitters. 63 hours of programs are recorded each week. The military air transport service flies them around the globe. Some of these programs are written and produced by AFRS personnel. Others are taken directly from the nation's networks, enabling the service audience to hear...
Dragnet. The documented story of an actual crime.
The Red Skelton Show. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Arthur Godfrey and his talent scout.
I am the Whistler.
The University of Chicago Roundtable.
Yes, all these and many more. Music, drama, comedy, discussion programs. Name it and you'll find it in your program schedule. Of course, there's one small difference. You have no commercials. The programs are first recorded on tape, and then the commercials are deleted, leaving a smooth show with no advertising content. These shows represent millions of dollars invested in time and talent, and it is a tribute to the stars, the sponsors, the advertising agents,